thank you for coming on to the show. I appreciate that. We're back here at the fucking LFG compound studio now, you know, in the garage. I like to call it shop, but people talk shit when I say shop, you know, because it's the garage. I'll definitely start off with this episode is brought to you by Law Tigers. If anybody's ever injured in a motorcycle accident, call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS. But my friend Joel came on today and was coming on, and we're going to talk about a story and his path to recovery once again. And let's just start off with the show, man. Like, where are you from?
San Diego, born and raised. Lakeside, El Cajon, a little bit in La Mesa.
Yeah.
But, you know, mostly Lakeside, East County.
Yeah, you're just East County boy.
Yeah, I'm an East County boy. La Mesa was a fluke, bro. You know
really?
what I mean, it was a little close to the 15. I don't like going past the 15,
yeah.
brother.
Well, it's funny, like, people that live at the beach, they're like, that's East County from the 5 west.
Oh, it's
you
the
know
minute they see anything over a 6-inch lift, bro.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
yeah, 6-inch lift for
that
sure.
thing's huge. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, I'm not at home anymore.
Yeah.
You know, but
what would you live there for?
Where?
In La Mesa.
My mom got married.
Okay.
When I was 18, it was brief. I moved out when I was 18 and a half in high school still.
Right.
Or no, I was 19. But yeah, she got married, bless her heart, you know, after taking care of me her whole life, and she wouldn't date anyone.
Wow.
You know.
Do you have siblings, or is it you're the only
I
child?
have a half brother and a half sister that I've never met.
Okay.
I have a couple of family members I haven't never met.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother, you know, get down.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, my whole family is kind of a mystery, a lot of it, and you know, my siblings I do have, you would not know they're related to me, and
really?
You know, they're 20 years older than me.
Oh shit.
20 years plus.
Yeah, you're like the baby then.
Oh yeah. No, I'm the baby, and you know, like I never met my dad either. I met him once when I was 20. You know, and that was part of, you know, a good portion of stuff that went on in my life.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you said that because 9 times out of 10, people become addicts. Like, I know that it's a disease and it's already in us, and we, you know, some people get the disease like cancer or whatever, you know, because that's just the way it goes. But I know that trauma, like, literally kickstarts the behavior part of our addiction and our personalities.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's why it's so important to be like the best parent that you can possibly be. And it's not like I'm the best parent, but like, God dog, I try like my hardest, you know, because I know, especially like being married to another addict, it's like that kid is doomed, you know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
so it's really having a positive anyways, I can go on and on about the stuff that I'm doing, but this is about you, bud. I'm just really stoked to have this conversation with you because, you know, not a lot of people know your story and like what happened besides what they see on social media or hearsay from friends. But so just thanks, man. This is going to be cool. No, and it's really cool. Like, this is like the first show back here too. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
you're
no,
doing
and it's an honor, dude, because like, this is the first time I've ever shared like the whole full thing.
Yeah.
And it means a lot to me. So, you know, this whole meaning behind this for me doing this too is, you know, you're a good friend of mine, you know, and I want to help out any way I can with anything, but also to, you know, the people that did hear this and think that there's not a way out or that they can't get out of this, that they're just so far deep that there's a way. And before it gets to the point like it did for me, you know, just to be able to sit here and talk about it is a whole nother deal.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
It's literally like, I mean, I just got goosebumps, but like Dweezy said the same thing. Like when you came into the garage right now, he was like, holy shit. Like I almost struck a tear, you know what I mean? Because, you know, we didn't think that you were going to make it, but we're going to get into that. So when did your like addiction, you think, like first start?
So I think my addiction first started before I even started doing drugs. I believe that it started when I was probably about 6 years old. So I'll start off at the very beginning.
Sure.
Just so everyone can understand.
Yeah.
So when I was young, my mom left from my dad, right? He raped her and I came out of it. And I didn't know the whole story until I was older, but I'll get into that in a little bit. And we didn't have anything. My mom got left disabled by my dad. She she couldn't drive, nothing. We did nothing. We lived in a trailer behind a family's house. And then my grandparents in Lakeside, in Vegas, bought us a condo to live in eventually over time. But it's all started for me. I knew I couldn't afford anything, right? And with kids at school and everything else, like I was embarrassed. Like I was embarrassed to tell them where I lived. I was embarrassed to ask them to come over. I even would go as far as tell them this was my house. And I didn't live there. So that's when I'm saying my addiction started. When I started lying all the time, it started so young.
Yeah.
You know, and the influence of that led into my addiction. You know, I started smoking weed probably about 11, 12 years old. No one really knew about it. My mom kind of did because she came in one time and I had like this science project and it was a total freaking bong. I told her it was an air like ventilator, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and she's like, okay, you know, type of thing. But like, I wouldn't say that kicked it off. I kicked out a bunch of schools, you know, went through the high school thing, and I got kicked out so many schools. I got put in a private school, you know, and I was fighting, you know, I was total rebellious, like from an early age. I had families have to take care of me because my mom was disabled. When she get really bad, I lived with the family for a year. I was jumping all around.
When you say your mom was disabled, like what from?
So she was disabled. It's a tricky thing because she passed away before I got the complete truth. So I don't know if it's because what happened with my dad after, because he, without saying too much, he already had a family, right? He already had a 20-year-old and a 30-year-old when I was born. So when he did what he did with my mom. And so he wanted to keep it a secret. Right. So my mom ran instead of, you know, outing it or him getting outed. Right. You know? So so in that form and that matter, like it's a tough situation to say, you know. But after that all happened, she got hit by a drunk driver after that. Oh, got it. She got hit by a drunk driver, and ever since then, I've not. You know, it's been even worse. So she basically became epileptic and other things, and I had to deal with taking care of her seizures. I would grocery shop for us. I had a little cart, dude, that I'd mob across the street, you know, like, and go to Walmart. I'd cook for us, you know, and stuff like that. She did the very best she could. You know what I mean? But
you had to grow up pretty fast.
Yeah, right? I didn't have rules. You know, the system. You know, when I was in junior high, it was kind of she started getting better when I was in junior high. So, you know, I didn't really have that childhood, you know, that everyone did until my dad started paying child support and my mom gave it all to me. And so, like, when that started happening, I started, you know, it wasn't so bad. The same guy she married, she, like, started briefly dating, you know what I mean? But they weren't, like, it was like they break up. He was never around. Right. Like, she didn't want to bring him into my life after what happened. Then he started coming around, and they know each other for, you know, 30 years, 40 years. Right. So, but yeah.
Man, it's so crazy because I can relate so much to that, you know, like divorced and just being, you know, really just an adolescent that was just like out of control. And I had no, it's funny because I think that you reminded me of like, I lived in like a really run down house, and it was like I was super embarrassed too. You know what I mean? Like to where like kids are ruthless.
Oh, bro, it's like, I mean, they're savages, bro. Yeah. Even worse now. Yeah, like, big time. You know, I would go as far as, you know, I seen a motorcycle in someone's like garage. You know what I mean? I'd be like, hey, I'd set it up where I knew when their garage was open and all this, you know, and I'd be like, hey, come over, I'll ride your bikes over. You want to check out my dirt bike? And we just have to cruise by it, you know, like that's how bad it was already, to the point where I just wanted to fit in. Wow. You know, I was delivering newspapers when I was young just to have money, like, you know, to help my family. So I did whatever I had to in order to get by. Wow. Survival mode, bro. Totally. Since I was younger.
Yeah. So you're basically, you know, you guys were both raising each other in a sense, right? And, so yeah, it's funny, like our behaviors, right? Our behaviors like always, you know, intensify, especially like when we start using, it's like boom, dude, it's like off and running. Like weed. What did you like weed or?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, after, you know, we're gonna say it, but like after I just started doing it to go to sleep after a while. It was just a thing to do because everyone was doing it, right? Like when you're a kid, it's like the first thing most people jump to that before they start doing, you know, the harder stuff. Right. You know? But it's crazy because after that, like, I went to private school and it kind of cleaned me up for a little bit. You know, like probably the best time I had in my life. When that happened, when the church paid for it, they sponsored me because my mom couldn't afford it, and then that through high school, I was pretty mellow, dude. I was a good kid.
Wow.
You know, and I had good friends around me and stuff like that. So it just went from this.
Is that where your like step into faith came into?
Yeah. So my mom always shoved it down my throat. Like that's what and when I look back on it, and I see like she was very, very faithful in her faith. You know what I mean? But I didn't see it then. I didn't want to shove down my throat. Like she made, even when we had to take a bus to church, she made me get on the bus to go to church and stuff like that. And I had so much rebellion and anger, and I didn't. I pretended sometimes I was soaking it up just to make her happy,
right?
Because she, everything she's going through.
Yeah.
But I even played church.
Right.
I played the people at church.
Yeah. Chameleon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Anywhere
like,
I go.
Yeah. Put us in wherever, I mean, it's so funny because addicts, like you can literally put us in name a fucking city in any state and we can find dope. You know what I mean? Like we can find whatever we need, and we can just literally morph ourselves into anything and everything.
Even past the 15, bro. Even past the 15.
It doesn't even matter, bro. Yeah. So you smoked weed for the first time, and it wasn't that great.
Drank, and you know what I mean. It wasn't when it really started to get serious. Dude, I even went on mission trips. I went to Cuba, El Salvador, Africa, all because I was chasing a girl.
Really?
Yeah. I was chasing a girl that, and I went through all this to do this. Like I said, I was doing everything for the wrong reasons, right?
Yeah, for sure.
If I would have known how bad it would have caught up to me later in life, you know what I mean? But
yeah.
I that's my scene. I played church. I played the whole scene. But the minute, she did me dirty, life flipped.
Oh, of course.
I remember this instant. I remember one of the pastors. He's like, he sits me down, and like, mind you, this church that I went to, they helped out my mom, and my mom has been going to that church for years, and they were always there for me. They said, we see that, you're kind of, after this, you're going down a path right now. I was already started drinking pretty heavily and stuff, and
how old were you?
Do what?
How old were you?
I was 21.
Okay.
So, I started going down a path, and he pulled me aside, and he asked me to come to his office to talk to him. He said, listen, you can make one choice or the other. One choice is you can choose life or you can choose death. I know how you are, Joel, and your past and where you came from and everything else, and the people your father was surrounded by and everything else. You even though you don't want anything to do with him, you do. You know what I mean? That was the other thing. When I turned 20, I met him. And I had this whole plan in my head, like, I'm going to see this MFer, bro, and I'm just going to beat the shit out of him. I don't care who's around him, type of thing.
Right.
It didn't happen like that, bro. I was just like a little puppy, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's your dad.
Like, 100%. I had it planned out when he died. I'd go up on the funeral in front of certain people and be like, dude, F this dude, fuck it all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I didn't. I didn't feel instantly different, even with what he did to my mother and everything else. It was a trip, blood's thicker than water.
Right.
And from that, I was so confused by that. Right after that, when they set me down and had that deal, I went the exact opposite way. I went just bomb.
Really?
It was full on self-destruction. There wasn't anything I wouldn't try. There wasn't anything I would do. I was in bars every single weekend, robbing people, doing any licks, anything I could. And I loved fighting. And it was just an empty, dark place I was in my life, and it was so dark that, you start making decisions that you never thought you would make, ends up, getting institutionalized and everything else. And then you come out of there even worse.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. So during that time, did you have consequences?
Oh yeah. Lots of consequences. The worst consequences for me weren't even getting locked up. It was what happens while you're locked up, and what happens when you get out from people that didn't forget about what you did. Because I did dude, I messed with the wrong people before this all happened. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
Messed with the wrong people, and I basically, at one point got shoved in the back of a Tahoe with plastic put down in the back seat.
Oh boy.
You know what I mean? They're from, south. And just letting you know that this is probably where it's going to end, like type of thing. And all I remember is I went out because with everything that happened, some stuff's really spotty for me.
Sure.
Which you guys don't understand why and I remember going out to the Heritage, right? And I'm at the Heritage. That's where my spot. Like, that's where I get to. In between this, I'm changing cars at rental places so they don't know which cars I have, And I'm married at this point with my wife, And I'm trying to get homeless people to put their names on my hotel so they can't track me down. But I remember going outside, and it was just, get that weird, like, gut feeling. And this dude came out the door next to me, and he goes, "Hey, you want a beer?" Didn't even ask for my name. First red flag, right? Like, yeah. And I look over, I'm like, "Sure." And he had my favorite beer, which was Shock Top, which is pretty gay beer, but we're not gay. You know what I mean? It's pretty fruity. Don't take that personal.
Like, how did you know that?
If you like Shock Top, bro, you're on the wrong channel right now. You know what I mean? Just letting you know what time it is.
I love it.
I'm a big Coors Light guy.
Yeah.
That's west of the 15 right there, Tom.
Yeah, right. Coors, brother.
Yeah.
Silver bullet.
Yeah, 100%. 65 of them.
Yeah, right.
By noon.
Yeah.
But I remember after that, I don't remember anything. So I'm assuming that there was something in that beard.
Yeah, you got roofied.
100%. But I ended up, after the whole thing, I got hit in the back of the head when I was in the Tahoe. I ended up in my rental car in the bottom parking lot, all beat up. That's the last thing. And I was like, at that point in my life, you'd think something would switch and you would, you would change all this. But, it took, a couple more times, I had a bunch of charges, right? And to get into the first time I went to rehab was after I already did some time in jail. And then I went into rehab, and when I went into rehab, I had like 3 different gun charges and an assault charge, and it was a drug charge. I had paraphernalia and a taken cell.
Typical East County finest.
You know what I mean? And it was crazy because the program I went to was faith based. It's a Celebrate Recovery program. It's like working ranch, they call it. It's Restoration Ranch. And the director goes, "Hey, check it out. You're not taking a phone with you, and you need to figure out how you're going to get downtown for this court case, even if you're not coming back. I don't want you calling no one. I don't want nothing." So I figured out a way to get them from Ramona all the way down there, right? And I get there, and it took me, God knows how long.
Yeah.
I was almost late for my whole deal. I get there, and I had a bench warrant. And I get there, and I'm like, I was just assuming I was going to get locked up because I had a prior.
All right.
Get there, and they tell me that they're dropping the charges. No ifs, ands, buts about it. I never knew how or why. I didn't ask questions. I was actually almost looking forward to getting locked up and staying in the rehab, right? Because I didn't care anymore. Like, I've been there, been to jail, done that. You know what I mean? Like,
well, what it led you to that was the drinking and like cocaine.
It was drinking first. So I got my first DUI on Old Highway 80 going from the Flynn. I blew .08 though. Like, I didn't go to the MAD meetings. I didn't do the stuff they told me to do. They gave me 56 days in jail. Right. Right out the gate. And I caught a couple other things while I was in there. Mm-hmm. But that it was mainly drinking and blow. Like, I didn't start hitting the hard stuff until right before I went to rehab for the first time. Yeah. I was, opiates was my thing, and then it escalated to meth and heroin. Right.
But it's funny, like, how, I mean, not funny, but like, people go to rehab and they come out a different drug addict.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm a firm believer, dude, that even if it's not drugs, we latch onto these things, dude, that we think is gonna fill our heart, like fill our voids, and we just put it to other stuff. It's like I've known so many people that that are sober, but they have these things in their life that and they care about that more than their own self. Yeah, and I that's what we have that tendency. Period. Right.
Man, it's so crazy. It's like, I know so many people that get in rehab that, so I was shipped off to a rehab in Utah, and it was like, yeah, so, and I goofed on the guy, you know what I mean? He was like, yeah, I'm in here for, booze and coke. And I'm like, booze and coke? You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? Because, being a heroin addict too, there's like so much, like, it's like you're proud, you know what I mean? You're proud to be that junkie,
like
you know what I mean?
better,
Yeah, and it's like fucking so bizarre behavior because, like, dude, people, like, there's so many people that are addicted to so many things, and it doesn't matter what it is because addiction is just fucking so powerful, man.
Oh, it's stupid. Like, I used to judge it, like, just like you're saying, like, a dude would come into rehab, like, and he's like, oh, I'm addicted to weed, and I'd be like, you're a pussy.
Yeah,
you're a straight pussy. Dog.
Yeah, dude. Right? What are you talking about?
Like, you know what I mean? And there was tears of it, but then I started learning over time, like, it don't matter, dog. It don't matter what kind of drugs you did. I mean, you might have more teeth. You might have, you might have less wrinkles.
Right.
You know what I mean? But like, it's all the same. It all stems from the same thing. You're an addict.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
through and through.
There's people that are eating addicts. There's people that are freaking sniff freaking glue. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, hey, by the way, those are some of the funniest things I've seen on the internet lately. Is they're showing, how you get mug shots of people?
Yeah.
So there's a mug shot. You'll get a kick out of this. They showed a whole picture of people that were huffers, and they all have fucking paint all over their face for mug shots. And dude, I'm like, holy shit! Like, people really do spray paint, dude.
Oh yeah.
And like, one guy had like gold and silver, and it was like kind of collaged together. And I'm like, that's beautiful. Like, how can you imagine? Like, you see somebody doing that? I've yet to see anybody do that. I mean, I've never seen.
That's way west of the 15. That's 100% less than 15. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's 2 on hand over here. You know what I mean? Like, it's everything else is 2 on hand. If you choose that, you probably, I mean, your dad worked at a paint shop.
Right.
An auto body shop. You were the whole life you were smelling that before. Right. No offense to anyone that's hearing this about you saying that, but it's not a joke. But
it's a real thing. You know what I mean?
It's crazy though.
But it goes to show you, what addicts will do for drugs.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't even matter. Like, we would go to the end of the fucking earth to just try to get fucking high or get well.
Well, I know that you probably know things that you did, and I know the things that I did in order to make that happen.
Oh, for sure.
They will die with me.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
There's some filthy things that happen when you're fucking, especially if you're homeless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're doing whatever it takes to fucking survive. I had it was a very short stint of, a week of being homeless in downtown, but that was enough for me. I was like, fuck, dude.
Yeah, I was on and off with it. Like, it wasn't, a lot of people don't even know this, like, to know me and stuff, because they always I had this facade, it wasn't, I'd make sure if I was somewhere where I'd see someone, that I'd have one set of clothes put aside, you know what I mean, in my backpack or wherever I was at, because I was a hotel jumper.
Right.
I got as far as, I somehow got a retail license to freaking, I was always a hustler, right? I was in survival mode from a kid on.
Yeah.
So I'd find ways. You know what I mean? It's like, no matter what. I mean, my poor wife, dude, she's probably spent somewhere near $40,000 on hotels for me over, 3 years. And me with my hustle on the side, my hustle just paid for, with my phone thing. I was selling, dude, one time I looked at my OfferUp page and I had $300,000 in sales. When they used to show it like that, how much you sold, that's how they used to keep track of it back in the day. And then I had $300,000 in sales, and there was, I'm like thinking in my head, like, the IRS, someone's got to be seeing this. And these were all bad deals. Like, these were all like phones, like with the IMEIs back then, it was a lot different.
Yeah.
That I would go finance them all on someone else's credit and then sling them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Good
and
hustle.
They would never know.
Yeah, it's a solid hustle.
Yeah. All you had to do was fill out a retailer license online. And you didn't have to
fucking tweaking ass motherfucker.
I got 125 iPhones sent to me, bro, and I was like, we're going to Vegas. I never made it past the 15, but, we're going to Vegas. You know what I mean? Like,
the 15. Straight 10 to 2 immediately.
Yeah, 100%. 10 to 2. Like, this was my routine, bro. This is my routine, right? So when I was living at home, this before I couldn't live at home anymore. Because people were looking for me and stuff. I didn't want to be at home. My wife didn't know that at the time. My get down was wake up, because I knew I had a younger daughter, My oldest hasn't been born yet, or my youngest hasn't been born yet, but I had a younger daughter then, which was my oldest. I would get up in the morning, if I did get up. I'd get up in the morning, I'd go in the shower, I had a little there's a towel that I pulled out and I had a little box shoved in it with my heroin and my foil all ready to go, right? I'd sit there, I'd hit my heroin, I'd come out of the shower, I'd go, after that, I'd leave the house, I'd go to 7-Eleven, I'd get a Slurpee, a big Slurpee, I'd grab a teener, I always had a teener ready, I'd dump a teener in my Slurpee and I'd drink it throughout the day.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Hits a lot different. You know what I mean? It lasts longer. I was working too. This is when it started before I left. When I left the house, it all got bad. I would do that. And then after I did that, I would, like right around lunch break, that 64 ounce with that teener in it, dude, would last me a minute.
Really?
You know, I didn't have to go sneak off to the bathroom and stuff like that. And after that, I'd go hit some more heroin in my truck. And then by the time I got home at 3, you know, I would probably hit a bowl a couple times.
Yeah.
And then I would take, you know, probably 4 to 5 Norcos to try to mellow me out before I got home at like 5 o'clock, and like a Xanax bar, and then I'd smoke more heroin. And then I would, before I go to bed, in order to try to sleep, I'd take 3 or 4 Xanax bars.
Jesus.
And then do some more heroin. That went on for a year straight, just like that.
Your wife never knew?
She said, well, I passed out a couple times. Those small ODs, you know what I mean? Like, and she started to get an idea. I mean, dude, I was so sucked up, dog. You know, like, it was like, I wasn't eating, and I was saying I was working 18 hours a day, you know, and I was still making, I was contracting.
Yeah.
But I wasn't a contractor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I still, you know, I found ways.
Yeah.
I just tried to cover it up because that's my get down. I always wanted to be something that I'm not.
Facade.
I always am.
Facade.
It's a full facade.
Your
My
whole entire life. Yeah.
I thought it would always be hard for me. My whole life was a facade.
Right.
About 90% of it, dude. And that took me a minute to actually accept that, right?
Yeah.
And that was just recent. You know, a lot of it. You know, people know me in different industries. You know, in the bike industry, in the off-road industry, you know, in the sports industry. Like, not too many industries I'm not, like, except unless it's west of 15.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like...
How long have you been married for? Or
So-
with your wife?
So I've been with me and my wife have known each other since we were 21. We've been legally married we're going to have our 10-year anniversary here on the 29th, I believe it is, of May.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's this month?
Yeah, this
10,
month.
10 years, been with her for 20, so since you've been 21.
Yeah, we've known each other since then. We didn't start dating. I broke up with her because I still wanted to party, and then, you know, when stuff got really bad, I was like, I need to settle down, and she's a good woman, and I never should push her away in the first place. I mean, she's normal. She doesn't do drugs. You know, everything that I would want in a wife, you know?
Yeah.
And I still do, you know, and that's what I got, you know?
Yeah.
And the fact she's even still here after, she's been through all this with me, dude. She's chasing me down in hotel rooms. I mean, dude, you name it.
Spending money of her own money for shit,
oh, dude,
too.
I mean, she has a good career, you know. She has her master's, you know. She's the exact opposite of me, dude.
Right.
I mean, I think best GPA I ever had was like a 2.4.
Stay up, dog. You know what I'm saying?
Just send it.
Fucking
You know what I mean?
Geniuses
If
over
they
here,
had
dog.
GPA and hustling, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That'd be a whole other deal.
Exactly. So that's what's so funny. You're like, no, dude, I'm fucking street smart, dude.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
no, 100%.
Excuse me, English professor. Oh, he said the word wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what I
School
mean?
of hard knocks,
But
bro. Come on.
you fucking hoop a fucking goddamn ball of fucking heroin up your ass
Yeah.
and get into fucking
Yeah,
jail?
or your
Probably
belly
not.
button. I got a buddy, bro.
Belly button?
Yeah, he put it in his belly button. He's the first person I know
Was he a fat guy?
to get 3 grams in his belly button and not get caught.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's friggin' impressive. That's
amazing.
You hear about hooping it all day long, but
Yeah.
have you ever heard anyone doing it in their belly button?
Nah, never.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Never. That must be one
impressive.
big ass belly button.
Oh yeah, he's not fat anymore, so he can't do it. So he got sober too.
Jesus
So.
Christ. I know it's great, huh? It's so cool. Like I see some people that I used to use with and they're like getting clean. I saw on Facebook the other day and I'm like, man, it's such a, but it took, I'm going to coming up on 10 years in June. And like, this is really like the first time that I would see some people that I knew of using. And I'm like, it just takes what it takes sometimes. But I'm like, God damn, man, some of these guys are straight cockroaches. They could just stay fucking loaded and stay loaded and stay loaded.
Yeah.
And I used to fucking be jealous of that, because I was like, damn, I'm not even a good addict, I can't even get fucking high right. I mean, I do everything else wrong my entire fucking life, you know? But anyway, so it's like, dude, 20, you met your wife at 21. You guys have been together for how many years total?
I mean, I'm about to be 40 here in September. So.
Got it. So you're looking at 20 plus years of being with someone that's stuck by your side, you know, especially like your first, not to stop the story. So you're smoking heroin in the bathroom when you got home. You're still doing Xanax, which that's crazy as fuck because every time I did a Xanax and heroin, I was fucking out, bro.
Oh yeah, so I was not like the not off sensation. Like I do it here and there, but I had like this balance, right? Like where it was like I had this thing going where I had to figure out what I could do. Every once in a while, I'd do it too much. And
right.
You know, I'd be sitting there. I was never the sawed-off shotgun. Like, I was aware. That happened to me one time at Disneyland, though. It was pretty embarrassing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
At Disneyland?
Oh, bro. We'll do this. I'll make this quick. So,
dude, take your time, bro. This is your show, dog.
Well, I have a feeling the story's going to take long the other part. So, we go to Disneyland, right? My wife's like, we're going to take the kids. We're going to take Tarina. We're going to take her to Disneyland. And the next day. And I said, I didn't sleep the night before. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed up all night. And then on top of it, I was trying to find some Adderall, right? So, like, when I go there, because I knew I wouldn't be able to, like, stay awake.
Yeah.
Couldn't find it. So I didn't sleep, and I drove them all the way out there. We went to Disneyland, and we get there, and I'm like, I'm in bad shape, bro. Bad shape. Bad shape. Yeah. I had some heroin, right? So whatever I have to make me feel better, I'm going to do. So, you know, the first thing I do when I get there is we go and we're walking in and I'm like, it's like 8:30 and I'm like, I'm screwed, bro. Like, I am so screwed for this day. I need to figure something out. I need to go to the bird show for like 3 hours, you know what I mean? And just sit there.
Yeah.
And like, you guys will do your thing. I'll be, you know, that ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Not there.
So I ended up getting this brilliant idea right when you walk in Disneyland, the bathroom's right there. I get this brilliant idea to go in there and smoke some heroin in the bathroom real quick. Nice. Bad idea.
Bad idea. You just stayed in the bathroom?
When I did it and the alarm went off.
Oh,
above
man.
It, you know that little dudes, the little guys all in white that walk around?
Yeah.
I don't know if I was paranoid or what, but I had an MFer every freaking time I turned around watching me, bro. Like, I don't know if I was just paranoid, but it was I turned around, they're just like standing there staring at me, you know, type of thing. The whole day I spent.
Were you looking like a druggie, though?
Oh, bro, I was so burnt. Like,
okay.
I had nice clothes on, like, you know, nice pro club, nice friggin' pair of Levi's, I think, and then nice shoes, a hat, but like I had sunglasses on too, so some of it's hard to tell. Yeah. You know what I mean?
But you're still skinny.
Yeah, still skinny, but yeah, the rest of the day, and then I finally started nodding off right and left, and my wife's like, we went to the bird show after, and I fell asleep. I was out cold, couldn't move, like, she kept trying to wake me up.
You were just gone.
Done.
How was that fight?
I think at that point she was so over it and just done with all the situations. That was close to when I was just gone.
Right.
I was so gone in everything that was going on. I was like worried about my life, like not for drugs, but because of the people I pissed off.
Right.
So,
man, that's fucking crazy, dude. If so many people can relate to that, you know, it doesn't matter where you're at. Disneyland too. We're getting high. Oh yeah. Fuck, it doesn't matter, dude. Because I know that you came into the rooms. So did you go to, like, when was the last day of using at this point to where you did institution, like, or something to get clean again? So
after that, I went after that whole deal I was talking about with the charges being dropped. I stayed at the rehab for 9 months. Stayed there 9 months. I cleaned up my life. You know, after everything I've been through, getting locked up, everything else. And I cleaned up my life. I didn't really program, though, when I was in the rehab. I just did what everyone told me to and just got by. Right. You know what I mean? Did the chameleon thing again. Mm-hmm. I left after 9 months. I moved into a guy's house. There's been sober for like 25 years, an older guy. Lived there for like 6 months so I could figure out how to get my family situated. I got a good job drilling, you know, going into foundational drilling, and I started traveling. I hit about a year and 6 months, maybe, don't quote me on it, before I started drinking again. Mm-hmm. You know, and all these people thought I was so sober for like 3 or 4 years. Right. You know what I mean? But I was the type that once I did start doing that, I didn't want anyone to know, but I wasn't going to show up at any kind of meetings. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I never understood, like, how dudes, like get high and come to a meeting. Like I get it. They're trying to. I understand that.
Yeah.
But like in a rehab, get high and then try to stay there at the rehab. I'm like, dude, I couldn't do it. There's no way. Like it's not. It would be miserable for me. You know what I mean? I'm sure it's miserable for them, but like that's just the level of how bad it is for us. You know.
Yeah.
And after that I started doing. I was giving back, and I took the guys from the rehab to like Magic Mountain, stuff like that. But then when I started drinking again, and I was out of town working all the time, I was never home. I just worked. I was gone 6 months out of the year working, you know, and the family got neglected again. And then I started making some good money doing it. And, you know, I didn't start drink. I only just drank. I just drank, right? After that, I figured I could handle it.
Yeah.
You know, that I was good on it.
You cured.
Yeah, I was good on it. I didn't need nothing. That I got a balance. And I remember when I was in rehab, there was a guy that was in rehab with me, and I compared my sobriety with his. And I know that he had like 6 years clean, something like that, and he started drinking. You know what I mean? And I don't know if he still does to this day, but he started drinking and he could handle it. And his wife, you know, said he was good, she was good with it because he just had a beer here and there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I went off his program, right? And I started drinking, and then, you know, I just kept it mellow for a while, dude, like a straight while. And then I started drinking a lot. And then, you know, blow started coming back in the picture.
How long did you maintain, though, of just drinking?
Probably 4 years.
See, that's
5
a long.
years.
That's
5 years.
That's a good run.
And it wasn't every day. It wasn't every day until like the last probably 3 years, 4 years.
Do you remember like what triggered that to where like did something happen in your life to where you were kind of like fuck it? Or
so my mom got cancer, and
jeez,
it was during the COVID time, right? And she had cancer 2 times before it. So this will be her 3rd time. I've been with her through cancer, you know, shaved my head with her, everything else.
Damn, bro.
And it made me, the whole time with that whole thing, I was always angry at God, like with everything. Like, why would you put my family through this? You know what I mean? Why would you like let my mom go through this? So my mom and my grandma got cancer around the same time. My mom ended up dying. My grandma died the day after.
Wow.
And those are the only people I had in my life, my whole life.
Wow.
So I got the giant case of fuck it's all over again, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it wasn't like before. Like, I knew I wasn't going to go start, you know, I knew that I wasn't going to start doing heroin or any of that again. I was just going to, you know, at this point I had my own business too. So I went from the drilling and made a bunch of money, started doing side jobs, and then went into my own business and made a bunch of money doing it. Wasn't all honest money, you know what I mean? But I made a bunch of money doing it.
Yeah.
And started filling my voids with other things like race trucks, sand cars, motorcycles, you know, you name it. I've always loved bikes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Anything with a motor, bro. Like, if it goes vroom vroom,
yeah.
I just don't like cross. I'm not a big street bike guy, but you know
Sure.
what I mean.
You can have love for it though.
Oh,
right?
I have love
yeah,
for it.
right.
I mean, I support anyone riding a bike, even a scooter.
Yeah, I don't
Even
care.
a 75-year-old man just on 4 wheels, just electric as hell, just bang.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure I do too.
100%.
It don't matter. You know what I mean? Get out there and get some, dude.
Oh yeah,
have
dude,
some freedom, brother.
Like there is wind in your hair.
Yeah,
that's all that you should care.
Have some
you know
freedom.
What I mean? Like, but so yeah, it started to get heavy, bro. Like it was weighing on me. I had money, so I didn't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I thought that because I had nothing growing up, right?
Yeah.
This is the first time in my whole entire life where I had a good amount of money.
Right.
Where I could go spend $100,000 and not flinch at it.
Yeah.
You know, type of thing.
Yeah.
And that was the worst thing that could happen to me. I am not the person that should have a crap ton of money. Maybe in some time, you know what I mean? But like for me, I do my best when I'm here. Not up here, not down here. When I'm just every day, you know, I have to depend upon asking for someone for something in my life. You know, my higher power. Like when I have to depend upon that, my life is so much more peaceful. Mm-hmm. You know, like it's so much more loving, it's so much more caring. I come up a different person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like someone, you know, you look back on all the stuff you've done and you're just like, how the hell did I do that?
Mm-hmm.
Like what monster, bro, like engulfed me, like just swallowed me up and spit me out, you know? And after all that, like, you know, I started doing blow, started, you know, hanging out with the wrong people, drinking all the time, got hooked back on pain pills. You know what I mean? It was a slow effect. It was still slow. Like we're talking, you know, right to my mom. Like I wasn't doing coke all the time, but you know, you party.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Then next thing you know, you start partying with the harder partiers, and then it's, you know, it's an every time you drink type of deal.
Yeah. Every single time you drink. That's why I was saying, because, you know, for me, I've had plenty of experience in this to where I'd like just try to drink, you know, and it never really maintained, because I used to say that it maintained, but it wasn't, because I was doing shots at 10 a.m., you know, of Jägermeister. That was my get down. And then I would drink Coors Lights throughout the day. But the entire time, that obsession, bro, like, oh my God, I was so obsessed with drugs. Like, I would think about it all the time. And the smartest thing that I did for myself was my obsession ran me so fucking wild that I went to the doctors and I start paying out of pocket for Suboxone, because I fucking knew that I was going to fucking use heroin again. You know what I mean? And so I stayed on Suboxone, but to your point, though, it's like, dude, I would, people would have drugs like meth, coke, or whatever, and I would do it, you know, and it was like, damn, I can't believe I'm back doing this again. But I always said, I'm not shooting dope. You know what I mean? Like, that was like my saving grace. Like, I'm not shooting dope. You know, I'm taking Suboxone.
If it's not, you know, if you're not slamming and tasting it.
Yeah, you know, I'm not getting, you know, I don't have a needle in my neck. Like, it's all good, you know. So the sad part about it, though, is like a lot of addicts feel that same way too. You know what I mean? And they don't understand that there's a completely new way of living. You know?
Oh yeah, and it's like, I don't think you understand it till you're 100% honest with it. Like, with yourself, you know, and that's something that I never been able to do until about 6 months ago.
Right.
Like, to be completely honest, you know what I mean, about where my life's been, where it's going, and who am I okay with who I am.
Yeah.
And that's
huge. Before your, you know, accident, we'll say, like, you were a fucking wild man. You know what I mean? Like, you were out, you know, just, you're always out doing the most and, you know, drinking. But I knew from our conversations before, you were like, yeah, you know, I had some recovery and stuff. I mean, you know, fooled me too. You're like, you know, I drink, but even like other people would say like, oh no, Joel drinks, but he doesn't like get loaded anymore, you know? So it's like you know, people like, you know, covered for you in a sense or something, you know what I mean?
Well, most people, I'm one of them secretive ones, bro. Like, I don't, like, even like most people are like, oh, I'm going to go to this house and we're going to get some blow. I'm like, nah, I'm good. But they didn't know I already had it in the bag in my pocket. You know what I mean? I'm like, homie, in my head, I'm like, I'm 15 steps ahead of you, dog.
That's so fucking funny. It didn't matter.
Like, it could be the desert. I plant, like, I'm a big planner, right?
Right.
Like, even with my wife, like, I can't procrastinate on a lot of things. So, like, I got stuff planned out before I even, like, you know, if like, for example, today, right? My kid got cleats, like new cleats she made all-stars for softball, right? And she hasn't tried them on yet, and the kids are already wearing them to practice. And we have a game on Saturday, so if they don't fit her and they're not correct size, I'm not going to get new ones for the game on Saturday. All-stars are all color coordinated, like, you know, and it's been driving me nuts. You know, like, that's the type of person I am now. Like, well, I've been that way where I plan way ahead. Like, so when that kind of stuff happens in my life, it throws this huge log right in the road. Instead of just like a little, we'll fix it, we'll figure it out. That's how my wife is. It's me like, oh my gosh, I can't do this, bro. I need to know. I need to where I'm going, what time this, what, you know, I have to know.
Very organized.
That's part of my addiction though, bro. That is part of my addiction. I have to know everything. Everything that's coming up in my life, everything. I have to know it. If I don't know it, I'm fucked.
Really?
That's how I feel. You know what I mean? I go into panic mode. Like, I got, like, I the next day for whatever I'm doing, like, I'm thinking about the day before, and I start stressing myself. This is why you shouldn't do it. I start stressing myself out about stuff I got to do the next day. Half it doesn't even happen, right? Like, 90% of it's just like, you're such an idiot. Like, you just didn't sleep last night because you got to do all this and that. Yeah. And all it takes is 3 phone calls in a row for your whole day to be changed.
Right.
Or even one.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, every time I plan something, it's like, just F off. Stop doing it, bro.
Right.
Like, just chill.
So do you suffer from anxiety?
I have a different kind of anxiety. Like, my wife has anxiety super bad.
Sure.
My anxiety is like, I don't show it, right? Mm-hmm. It's internal, like, but I don't show it. I'm not like all like, you know, biting at the bit.
Sure.
I got some twitching tendencies, but that's from past.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you
But,
got
like,
you got the East County crawl, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't like. That was my biggest concern when I came out of this whole accident. That they're like, you're gonna have different like weird, things.
Yeah.
That happen probably, and I'm like. They're like, your right side of your face could even start sloping a little bit. Like, and I didn't notice because I was telling my wife this,
Yeah.
But I'll tell you about that when we get to that.
Yeah, no, I definitely wanted that's like, this leads really great into this next segment. I mean, this is like the part of your story that gets really fucking scary and like really sad, And I remember, fuck, I'm getting goosebumps right now. Like, I remember when I got the phone call and both people that called me said the exact same thing as Joel's probably not going to make it, So like just walk us back into like what happened that night. You know what I mean?
So obviously I've been hanging out with the wrong people, or wrong deal, and not being myself and stuff. So at that point I was doing pain pills quite often. I got prescribed it from my doctor because I tore my rotator cuff. So I figured it was okay. I didn't tell my wife. That was the first sign knowing it's not okay. She knew I drank. But she didn't know about
not the pills.
She also didn't know about a bunch of financial stuff going on. Like,
right.
I was already in such a dark place back in my life because there was so much she didn't know. Mm. We lived on 2 separate islands.
Yeah.
And I was treating her like crap. So I was in a dark spot.
Bro, she's an angel, for one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you put her through the fucking ringer, dog.
Oh, yeah. And, like, people see my wife, and they're like, your wife looks like, she's beautiful. But you ain't messing with my wife. Like, she has that presentation. Like, she's been through it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you trained her well, bro.
Yeah, and it was just me and some other stuff too.
Yeah,
but I'll take most of the blame. 100%
sure.
of it. So we were in a dark spot, and so I started taking pain pills again, and I ran out. I ran out of pain pills. I could have gone to get them from my doctor, but I knew we're on like Kaiser, right? So like they send everything to my wife and me sometimes. Like,
yeah.
Prescription, and I realized I didn't catch it the first time, but I wasn't gonna push it. She knew I was on pain pills. She'd leave me. You know what I mean? She told me if I ever messed up like that again, after that time we're done.
Oh wow.
So I knew that I would be on that point. So me and a couple buddies, we went out that night. It was a Sunday night, I believe. We went out and raised some hell. I ended up picking up from my buddy. Like, they didn't know I was doing that bunch of pain pills.
Right.
Like, they knew, like, I was from my shoulder, like, but they didn't know I was hitting it hard.
Yeah.
And so I hit up a dude, and I was like, hey, you got any, I need some. You know what I mean? I'm all out.
Yeah.
So he's like, I can get you some. And I've got from him before, and there was never an issue. So I got pain pills from him, and we were all at the bar, and we were partying, you know what I mean? And I was about to leave to go home. It was a Sunday, so I was just trying to get home a little earlier, right?
Sure.
So we started partying a little earlier in the day. And I took one of those pain pills.
Here, I'm going to push this a little bit further up right now, just because we're getting into the story. I'm going to make sure we're going to get this motherfucker, boy.
Yeah. So I took one they were blue, so I thought they were Roxy's, right? Like,
sure.
This day and age, when we used to do stuff back in the day, you weren't worried about fentanyl, you weren't worried about that crap.
No.
Like, it wasn't like, if you found blue pills, you were that's 30 milligrams, I'm in.
Bro, yeah, I'm gonna smoke them.
You know what I mean?
I'm gonna smoke them.
Yeah, like, I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do.
Yeah.
And so I got those, and they were stamped the same. I always look at them, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, damn, I just spent $50 on this thing, just one of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was looking at it, see the stamp on it. It had stamps on it and everything else, and so I took one, and we're at the bar, and that's about 20 minutes later. I don't remember anything else, and I text my business partner, and I was acting kind of crazy around everyone.
Yeah.
So I went home. They were like, you need to go home. You're messed up, type of thing. No one went with me, nothing. And I text my business partner, and I'm like, hey, I'm not gonna be at work tomorrow. I don't feel good, type of thing.
Yeah.
That was it. And it's 7 in the morning. My wife came in to the house.
So you only took one pill.
That's what I thought. So I had 4 of them.
Okay.
So my wife came home about 7 a.m. We don't know from between the time, or it was 7. I forget the timeline on it. I don't know exactly, but there was a wide timeline from when I took them. My wife came in the guest bedroom, and I was in a pool of throw up, and I wasn't breathing. I was blue in the face, and there was no sign of life. whatsoever. I wasn't breathing, nothing. My wife called 911.
Mm-hmm.
The ambulance came. My kids also found me with her. So both my kids walked in on it and saw me dead, basically. The EMT got there. They were 4 minutes away. They were right around the corner. And they hit me with four times with Narcan. Nothing was happening. So I don't remember any of this, mind you.
Of course.
I'm going off of what I was told. They rushed me in the ambulance. My kids go and stay at my neighbor's house while my wife called my father-in-law, my best friend, Steven. And he rushed to the hospital, and they're like, we don't know if he's going to make it. I get to the hospital. I'm instantly, they said he hasn't had oxygen in his brain. His 20% oxygen in his brain for at least 4 to 5 minutes. It's not looking good.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went into a coma, and they couldn't bring me. I had to be put on a machine and everything else to help me breathe. I was in that coma for 11 days. 11 days. Every day, they told my wife that, it's probably not going to make it. He's probably not going to make it. He has very slow chance. And then while in the curtain over, a kid that was 23 just passed away from fentanyl. And mind you, I'm 39 years old or 38 years old at the time, and I was working out. I was in good shape.
Yeah.
Like I was working out every single day. I was in the gym 5 days a week. And we got like day 3, day 4, nothing, no sign of life, no nothing. Can't breathe on my own. And it got to the point where they started talking to my wife along the lines of, you need to start preparing yourself. We get into day 11, and they're like, hey, there's nothing, it's not looking good for him. He's surprised he's even, if we don't get signs of life soon, it's going to.
And this was, you're on breathing tubes.
They were pumping me full of fentanyl. So that's what you do. When you go through something like that and you survive it, they pump you full of fentanyl to the tube to keep, so you don't go in, so your brain doesn't, that's the whole thing. You go cardiac arrest. Right. And you would think that's what happened to me. I went into cardiac arrest because the fentanyl was fentanyl.
Yeah.
And so they do that, and there's like a bunch of different options they can try to do with you, but it's never guaranteed. And they try not to because, the next one's like the trachea tube that they try to do through you that's very dangerous. It can send you instantly into cardiac arrest.
Right.
So they didn't, from what I remember, they honestly didn't want to do it because, whatnot. So they, on the 11th day, they said, hey, he told my wife, they told her 2 days before that, even if he makes it through it, he's going to be a vegetable.
Right.
Straight up. So there's no way he's coming out of this, unless he's not going to, if he does, the amount of brain damage that you can see on the screen, it's a lot. It's a lot. Like right now what it's showing is he'd be a vegetable.
Yeah.
So my wife's just in a world of turmoil. My kids, everyone, no one wanted to accept it, but it was a given fact. Like you said, I was not going to make it.
Yeah.
There was no ifs, ands, buts about it. Even to make 11 days in a coma, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so they did last call me, basically. They said, get your family and friends down here. It's about to be over, type of thing. So right when that happened, I decided that I wanted to give everyone a little power play move, right? Good old Joel Bjorklund's got to keep everyone on their toes.
Yeah, sure.
So all of a sudden I went to the bathroom, took a crap, just went to the bathroom. So they started getting on me and working on me, like everything they could do and I still wasn't completely awake yet. I went to the bathroom. They just showed, action.
Yeah, right.
They had this little Asian dude jumped on top of me, pushing on my chest, trying to get everything going and everything else. And then I think it was a day later I came to, and I don't remember any of this.
Yeah.
I came to, and everyone was just so relieved I'm alive. And when I came to, I didn't come to like an average person, right? I came to throwing blows, freaking shoved, when people were on top of me. So this is the funny part about this. There's a little Asian dude that's on top of me, just pumping my chest. And my buddy Steve-O, he goes, says my wife, he's like, if that Joel wakes up right now and that dude's on top of him like that, it's going to be all bad.
Yeah.
Type of thing. I had a vendetta for this dude before this even happened. like before I came to life. Like, so when I came back around, when I woke up, I was violent, like super violent. Like I was slapping, shoving. I got that Asian dude back, bro. Like type of thing, you know?
Yeah.
And it was like, it was almost like where everyone was like, because I wasn't talking, like no one knew where I was at mentally, right? So, and this is all stuff that I've been told.
Sure.
So I come to and I'm delusional, and I'm talking though, like mumbling and everything else, and I'm talking and I'm telling, you know, people crazy stuff. Like I thought I was a football player for SDSU, and I was telling my wife that she's cheating on me, and just crazy stuff, bro. Like nothing that anyone that thought you were gonna die you want to come to, but there was a relief that I wasn't brain dead. You know what I mean? So they thought.
Wow.
You know, so when you got all that I'm assuming when you got all that stuff pumped through you, all the fentanyl and all that, it can make you do weird things, like which it did. Like it made me. I was delusional. I don't remember the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's so crazy, like, to kind of step back, and the fact that they say that you weren't, you know, you didn't have oxygen in your brain for 45 minutes, so therefore
4 to 5 minutes. 4 to 5 minutes.
Oh, 4 to 5 minutes. So the fact that you fell out at 6:50 or whatever, you know what I mean? Or
that timeline in between there, I had to be coming in and out. They were saying the whole time, in and out. In order to, my neurologist told me this too, and my heart doctor, you had to be coming in and out for all those hours that were in between it.
Yeah.
Before they found you in the morning. Like, you were choking on you're throwing up and you're choking on it, and you're having a heart attack, a little baby heart attack after heart attack.
Yeah.
Until finally it was like, they use an analogy, like there was someone pushing on your chest, like just trying to keep you here. You know what I mean? Like, and there's no explanation for it. It should have been dead then.
I know.
Dead right then.
I mean, your story is, it's really impactful, but it's like, man, too bad that you wouldn't be able to remember like some of the stuff that was going on. Like, you know, I'm always fascinated with people that have like these near death experiences, you know, to me, or it's like they see the light and all that stuff. But it's like you woke up, you fell out Saturday night, and then you woke up 11 days later in a panic. And when did you like start to like kind of remember like what's going on? Like, what was your first memory
So I had, when I was out, people always ask me like what you're talking about, like, like, do you remember, you know, anything happened? And I saw 3 burning palm fronds. 3 burning palm fronds that kept coming in and out, in and out, in and out. And it was like, for like the way it took me a while to figure out what way I felt about it because of how bad everything was. Yeah. But it was like, almost like, you know, that I was like sitting there feeling the fire, and then it would come off me, feel the fire like coming off me. Like, cause it was like the palms would come close to me and they'd be burning, and then they'd come off of me. Like I was like, either like my breathing pattern or what, like I was going in and out, like fighting, you know, dying, or like heaven and hell almost. You know what I mean? Like, like you're either going light or you're going dark, you know, type of thing. And, so like it became, it was like when I started remembering stuff, wasn't for a while, dude. Like after that all happened and they started taking me off the meds and stuff, like, I started doing some crazy stuff, and like I don't remember any of it. Everyone thought I was coherent, but I wasn't there. Like my wife brought me Mary's donuts. Or I asked her, she asked me what I wanted to eat, and mind you, I'm still, you know, like this. And she said, this was probably like 6 days after I came out of coma, and I said I wanted Mary's donuts, and she brought me Dunkin' Donuts, and I got pissed off. Like, and if you're, you know, Mary's Donuts, that's it right there. You know what I mean? And I should be sponsored because of that. Like, if it's a freaking commercial.
Yeah, right,
you know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
Like 100%. I'm gonna call Mary right now. Actually, Mary, you watching this?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So I like Joel Bjorklund.
Yeah.
But so after all that, like, you know, I was so delusional. I thought like one of the nurses kidnapped me, and I was stuck behind eastbound. Like so after that all happened, and they moved me, right? They moved me over to a different unit because I was in like the ICU of ICUs. They moved me over to Sharp because they do brain specialists. And this is when I started remembering. I woke up in a cage. I woke up in a metal cage on the ground that had a pad on it because I got violent. And between that time, I was completely like, don't remember any of it. But I woke up in this cage, and I'm like, this is when I started remembering. I'm like, dude, where am I right now? Like, where am I? Like, no idea what happened. No, my wife still telling me stuff to this day. What happened?
Yeah.
She remembers because she doesn't want to remember any of it, right?
Yeah.
I wake up and I'm like, and I got like this 6'5" freaking nurse, bro. I've never even seen a 6'5" freaking nurse.
Never.
You know what I mean?
Never.
And I'm like, what's going on?
Goddamn unicorn.
Yeah, like that is a unicorn with polka dots.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and they're like, well, you got violent with the nurses, and like you get violent with a nurse, you know what I mean? They don't take that very lightly.
Yeah.
So like they weren't happy about it.
Yeah.
And so they're like, you're gonna be in this cage until you start acting right. I'm like, bro, what'd I do? I didn't do nothing. And they're like, do you know what happened? And my wife wasn't there I remember when I first came to, and I was so confused.
Right.
I was lost. I could barely talk. Like, I had to learn how to walk, talk, everything all over again. Straight up. I tried to get out of when I was in the hospital. I tried to get out of the bed, and I told them I need to get my motorcycle. You know what I mean? Like, I need to get my motorcycle. Like this and that. Like, I don't remember any of it, but that's what happened. And so after all that, they said that, look, you're gonna be here for 6 months in this rehabilitation unit, and we'll let you out of this cage if you start acting good. So they let me out of the cage about 2 weeks later, and I started going to speech therapy, learn how to walk. I have videos of all this stuff, bro. Like, learn how to walk, talk, all this all over again. Physical therapy, speech therapy, a bunch of stuff. And they make you do it like 3 or 4 times a day. And they said that it would take me 6 months. And 3 weeks, so I've been in the hospital about 2 months now at this point, between everything. In 3 weeks, my people that were helping me, like with all this, my therapist, my social worker, like, hey, I think he can go home and start doing the therapy elsewhere. And the doctor's like, there's no way. Like, from his amount of brain damage, there's no way. And they're like, give him another week, and have him go through all this and see if you really think he's ready. And so the doctor's checking on me every day. And he's like, I remember this like so clear because this was like kind of like my spiritual awakening. Mm-hmm. I was I wasn't feeling anything yet, right? Because I was on so much meds and everything else. And he looks over and he comes in the room and he's like, hey, we're going to have a meeting tomorrow. Make sure your family's here, my wife, about you possibly going home. And I'm like, bro, I couldn't even eat yogurt out of I couldn't even feed myself, right? 3 weeks before this.
Yeah.
And he's like, so we're going to talk to you about it. So I go to that meeting, and I remember right before the meeting, he came in my room, and he had a tear in his eye. He's like, I've been doing this 45 years, and I ain't seen nothing like this ever. Mm-hmm. Ever. Nothing like it. And he goes, what do you think happened? I said, in all honesty, I believe God saved my life. Mm-hmm. I believe that's the only thing, the answer to this, and I wasn't thinking about any of that. Like, it just came out, right? Like, it wasn't like never was I once thinking about any of this while I was in the hospital. Like, I was just thinking about how screwed my life is. Yeah. Like the little bit that I could think. Mm-hmm. And so he started tearing up. The doctor started tearing up. Like, he was just like, this is so unexplainable, and I don't know. I'm lost for words. And so we go to the meeting, and they're like, hey, we're going to let you go. And you're going to go home, and we're going to try to get you, because I was with Sharp, and I have Kaiser. They didn't, so I ended up going home, and my sternum is broken. I'm still banged up, super bad. I went from 255 pounds to 204 pounds. You know what I mean? Like, just skinny, I look like a twigger again. You know what I mean? And I get home and real life just kicks in. I get home, my wife's frustration, and I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like, I had a couple people come visit me, and they're like, hey, you know what you need to do after this? They wanted to catch me when I was in the hospital. I'm like, I know what I need to do. I need to freaking get back to get my life back somehow. But you're not in any place. So I end up going home, and my wife that's when everything started kicking in, that how screwed up my life. Like, I called the rehab I went to before, and I said, hey, I need to come up there. I knew when I said that I might not have a family anymore. I might not have my company anymore. I might not have any of it anymore because no one wanted to talk to me about it while I was in there. You know, but real life comes quick. So I called the doctor. We talked to the doctor about going up there, and he goes, nope, absolutely not. You cannot with the condition you're in. You know, because it's not, you sleep in a dorm living with 40 dudes in a room. Like, it's not, you don't have a phone, like, any of that. Yeah. You know, it's not like you wash your clothes by hand. Like, it's the only thing I could afford at the time.
Right.
You know, my business took a tank while I was in there. You know, everything started coming to light, you know. And that was the only safe spot that could be, the owner of the Restoration Ranch sponsored me to go there. So I went ahead and did it against all guidance from the doctors. And mind you, this is Ramona, and I can't drive. It's suspended. My license was supposedly suspended, because when you get a brain damage, you can't, you know.
Yeah.
And so I had to go through all that, and I went up there, and went up there with, this is a moment my life changed. I went up there expecting my whole life to have to start over. You know, that's it. You can either push through this for your daughters, and that's it, and yourself, and that's it, or you can just give up right now. You know, you obviously are here for a reason still, and there's no doubt about that. And I had to talk myself into it, bro. It wasn't like just like, let's just go.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, you have no other choice. You have no home. As my wife told me, she's like, this is not your home anymore. You need to figure stuff out. You need to figure out how you're going to pay for this home while you're at the ranch. You know, like just brutal. Like, we have no money, no nothing. You left us in a bad spot. You spent all of our money before this all happened, blowing thousands and thousands of dollars, you know, and then it instantly goes to, well, your business partner ain't going to put up with you because you ripped him off before you left. You know what I mean? You were taking money out when you shouldn't be taking money out of the business and not telling him. You know, and stuff like that. So it looks like you don't have a family or a company to go to.
Yeah, you just hit literal
I'm homeless at this point. The first time in a long time. Everything I worked for the last 10 years. I mean, dude, like I said, trophy trucks, you name it, bro. Like, I had it all.
You did.
You know? And it's like, and it was just a facade, you know? And so I stayed there. And it was the toughest thing I've been through probably ever because of how the condition I was in. I stayed there for a little over 90 days. The reason for that, my daughter started to get sick, my oldest. And I started going back to work. You know, I couldn't do much, bro. I barely got my license back, right? I had to do a cognitive test, all this crazy stuff. I could barely work or anything. And, you know, by the grace of God, dude, like, I was able to, you know, come out of this. I mean, it's been May 19th of last year, bro. We're about to be at a year of this.
About a year.
Yeah. And if, like, people who have seen me, you know, 5 months ago even to now, it's crazy.
Yeah. So to go back, so like from my experience, so I think that you came out and you were talking about going to the ranch, but our friend, you guys went to the meeting and stopped by here, and I remember I was giving the kids a bath, and our friend was like, hey, come outside, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then you were there, and you don't even remember coming here, but you just looked, I mean, you looked in good spirits, but you just looked so fucking tired and skinny, you know? But I just couldn't stop hugging you and saying, like, I can't believe that you're here, because I could not believe it, you know what I mean? Like, I was hearing all these things, and nobody that I've ever met in my entire life has ever come out of that. Yeah. Especially how much brain loss that you had, dude. You know what I mean? Like, people just don't make it. So there has to be some sort of, you know, intervention and, like, you know, sign and stuff. And, like, dude, that's the thing about God and Jesus. Like, they literally have saved people, and by doing stuff like that, you know what I mean? And that's the only thing that could ever happen. Like, how does that happen?
It's unexplainable. Like, so when I went to my neurologist, the neurologist is what really put the icing on the cake for me, right? I'd never seen the pictures of the brain damage and stuff like that. I never cared to. Like, when my feelings start coming back. They put me on a bunch of methadone and crap right when I got to the hospital, and my doctor goes against it, so I just stopped taking it. I stopped taking the methadone. I stopped taking the sleeping medicine. I just stopped taking it. He's like, your brain, you got so much brain damage, you're going to have seizures. Da-da-da. I said, I don't care. Look what I survived. You think God's going to let me die over some crap like that? Like some artificial medicine? And that sounds foolish, but I was like, I ain't going to be doped up anymore, bro. Like, I'm not. Like, you know what I mean? My life's changing. But when I went to my neurologist, and this was 8 months ago, they had me do this cognitive test and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And he walks out of the room. I just cognitive test. They have you like draw a chair and all this stupid stuff and like remembering things. And my worst part's my memory. Like my memory is kind of smoked from all this, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
But he comes back in and he goes, bro, I need to show you something. And I'm like, okay. He has 2 pictures ready with the color on it and slaps up on the wall and he goes, that's your brain. Do you know what the red and yellow stuff is? I'm like, no. Looks like, one of them Weather Channel things. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, nope. He's like,
show me something.
That's your brain damage. Here's the second picture. Wham. Someone without brain damage. He goes, so we did one cognitive test and I didn't miss any. He's like, I'm going to give you another level. Because he gave me some stupid one, right?
Sure.
He gives me another level cognitive test. I missed 1 on that. Then he gives me a third one. I missed 2 on that. And then he gives the hardest one he has on paper right then and there. Not saying it's the hardest one. And I missed 3 on the fourth one. And he's sitting there putting his hands in his hair like this and walking in circles in the room. Yeah. And he's like, I don't understand this. I don't get it. This makes no sense. This was 6 months ago when you had all this brain damage. He's like, if you're lucky, I can't give you an MRI right now because from that point to where you're at right now is unexplainable. It's ridiculous. I said, you mean it's a miracle? And he goes, no, I don't believe in that. He's like, but what I will do is give you paid research on your brain. And you come and we pay you to research. I said, bro, you're going to find nothing you don't know. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, what do you think? You're going to click a couple of cells and it's going to be like, oh my God, this happened? No. You guys been trying to figure this out for years. This kind of stuff. And it's like, just like cancer. Right. You know what I mean? And I said, he's like, will you just do it? And he's been so fascinated with my run. Like, I'm going to actually take the MRI or the scan, whatever it is. Sure. And on August 13th, well, I'm going to do it again just to see where it's at on the brain damage. Yeah. And he's like, he can't believe it. Right. And like, I almost like, it's in that moment right there when he did that, I knew in my heart of hearts, like you're like people say it, but like people were saying to me all the time, like, you're a walking miracle. Yeah. And I'm like, I didn't believe it for a while after. And you think you'd be grateful and all this. Mm-hmm. I didn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. Right. I didn't want to believe that, I didn't deserve it. I'm still working on to this day, loving me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And feeling deserving of the things after everything I've done in my life and not carrying this guilt elephant around. You know what I mean? So it's like, you don't want to feel that. And that was the first time I felt it. You know what I mean? Like, you're a freaking miracle, dude. Yeah. And my wife gets mad every single time, like, because she's dealing with a lot of trauma from this. Big time, bro. Yeah. Like, big time. And it's so hard for her. Like, she's like she knows it's a miracle, but does she want to admit it sometimes? She will now. Mm. But does she want to admit it? Like why would you deserve this after what you just put us through? I don't blame her when she's like in the hospital, someone started spreading stuff that she said, like, that I don't want him to make it. She said that because if he's vegetable, I wouldn't want to make it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's just, the whole thing became so overwhelming about 6 months after, and that's when it hit me. Like, I was going to meetings, I was never a big NAA guy, and everything else that I tried to do, didn't work for me before. Mm-hmm. And after all this, I straight told God, I was like, dude, I will do anything to stay sober. I'm never going to have perfect mouth. I'm never going to probably not cuss. I'm probably not, there's a lot of things I'm probably not ever going to do. There's not a single perfect Christian out there, bro. Period. There's not. Mm-hmm. And that's a bottom line.
Well, that's what they say too. So it's like the only person that was ever perfect was Jesus, and he died for our sins. So like that's the whole point of being a Christian. Yeah.
And that's like, it's crazy. The most powerful thing to me is seeing these dudes that you've been through it with, mm-hmm. And you see their lives change, and you're just like, is it a facade? Like you start thinking negative.
Yeah,
Like, is this real or is this not real?
Right.
You know what I mean? All I know is that in my life, right now where we sit in this moment, I have my wife back. I have my kids back. I have my company, and I'm surrounded with love of my friends. My worst problems are quality problems in my life right now.
Yeah.
After all this, and I know, and I refuse to allow any of that back in my life. And I made that, and I can say it's an honest decision in my life that even though I've tried to get sober before multiple times, that in this day and age, I am not a dry sober addict. I'm a joyful. I have my moments. I'm cranky. I got brain damage
For sure. For sure.
You know what I mean? Like I have moments. Like don't get that twisted. They're still like I get super tired, bro. Don't even talk to me. I'm like, what'd you say? And not to mention, I'm deaf because of the whole incident. You know what I mean? So like that's another thing. To me that's God's little reminder. The brain damage caused me to be deaf, like severely, moderately deaf, and that's my little reminder. I need that reminder. The reminder isn't enough that I died. Time goes on, bro, and we forget about these things. You know what I mean? We don't forget, but we just like when we go back to is the trauma. Imagine when you're in your first rehab, or you're in prison, or you're in jail. I'm never coming back here. What do you do, bro? You go straight back. Straight back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You forget it. You're like, I got a little break. You know what I mean? Like, I would not change anything in the way things happened except for the trauma with my kids. Yeah. But I know that that's going to turn into something good one day. And that saves their life because seeing their father as a drug addict, then so be it. Right. You know what I mean? They don't mess with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Having kids and drugs, that's scary. That's a whole nother topic. But, even for your wife, too, like... how are things with you and her now? Dude,
so, from where we came from, like we've been working on our relationship. We've been going to counseling. We haven't gone recently because it's been kind of hard with our schedules and money is it's expensive every week or every other week. But we're working on it. We in our whole years of marriage, we've never celebrated any anniversary. Maybe we've gone to dinner, maybe.
Sure.
But the first time, we're going to go for 4 days on the 23rd to the 26th and get to know each other.
Just you and her?
Just me and her.
Oh, that's
because
awesome.
she feels like she doesn't know me, right?
Yeah.
Because all this stuff that happened and everything else, she feels like she has no idea who I am. Because it was all a facade or whatever, and she's finding these things out about me as we go. Like, it's almost like starting our marriage over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that I'm still the same person. I'm still goofy. I'm still a dumbass. You know what I mean? I'm still funny. Like, I still goof around.
Yeah.
But this is just me without anything to worry about.
Yeah, she's probably just in so much fear, man.
It's just freedom in it.
Yeah, she's in so much fear of like you using and then everything going away again. Like that's the thing that us addicts do to other people. You know what I mean? We literally create this fucking chaos and turmoil in their life because of our doing, Yeah. But you're finally taking so much ownership in like the change. So I just know if you keep walking this path, like your wife is definitely going to see like the real you,
The one thing you do learn through all the stuff you go through is time is of an essence. You know what I mean? Time is your friend. It can be your enemy or it can be your friend. But time is a very important word and thing in your life. And if you're able to be patient with the time, that clock will keep turning all the time.
Right.
But if you're not, it'll stop. And that's something that I've learned over the years because I'm not a patient person, dude. I'm go. Like, I don't stop. Even out of my addiction, I'm just like, gears turning, bro. And that's one of them side effects that we talk about as being a drug addict.
Yeah, for sure.
For
sure. So like, what is besides like waking up and coming to, and like I know that you like, what do you do for your recovery like now? You know what I mean? Like, what is Joel's life now?
So my life basically is, people still haven't seen me out, or really around. I haven't done nothing. I've been in my world has been meetings, church, my family, which is part of my recovery. I meet with my sponsors. I have 2 sponsors. With my sponsors, I meet with Mentor too. So I go to, I try to do at least three meetings a week, but with the family and the playing sports and everything, it's kind of tough sometimes.
Sure.
But I fit it in wherever I can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I'm having a moment, it's like I got to push everything aside. But I've really just been in my recovery. I've been getting to know myself and digging deep, like just like desperate, right? Like just desperate in my recovery, like that I don't ever want to go through this again. And no one, you can't understand it. Like there's not, from what I went through, you know what I mean? Like there's not anyone unless they, and even someone that did the exact same, but I've never even heard of someone doing the exact same. That's just me, but what I went through, like, you know, it's overdose, you come to it and you're fine in a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not like,
not dead.
and it's not like because it's a caliber of it. You know what I mean? It's really not. It's like just that, like I'm gonna always feel a certain way about it. And I appreciate things so much more in my life now. Like little things, right? Like I will not miss one of my kids' practices or game. I won't. And that's because before I was always, you know, I'll show up late or maybe I won't come. You know what I mean?
It's like God just made you just a better human being.
Yeah, and I still got stuff to work on. Like,
of course.
You know what I mean? But it's getting better day by day.
There's no perfect person.
No, and I don't want to be. Honestly, I don't. You know what comes with that is everyone, you know, just putting you on a pedestal.
Right.
And I'd rather, you know, be not under the radar, but I'd rather use what I've been through to change some people's lives. Mm-hmm. Like, I want people to walk up to me and think and see that, you know, like that what the Joel I knew before and where he's at right now, like I want something, whatever that is, you know what I mean? And that it's achievable. Like, not that I'm some shining star or something like that, but just like, you know, like there's something different about him. And that's why I would not change anything I've been through, bro.
Yeah.
And I mean it.
Well, you know, it's they say it takes what it takes, you know, and unfortunately this situation, you know, definitely took what it took to get you to where you're at, right? I mean, the chaos and everything that happened in between that time, I know that you'll be able to like work that out with your wife as long as you just keep maintaining on this road, you know. But it was funny because I wanted to see like where you're at, like with your faith, because like there's just no way possible that any doctor or anything besides, you know, God like intervened with this. I mean, there's absolutely no way. I mean, I get it. People, there's stories like yours that are similar, you know, and I feel like it's the same thing. Like everyone wakes up from that and says like, I'm a miracle and something just happened, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's just no way around it.
So I'm going to tell you something that I forgot to mention.
Yeah.
When I went to Africa, like everything happens in your life for a reason, right?
Right.
When I went to Africa, this dude named Larry Neese told me, he gave me this elephant trunk and he said, hey, you're going to need this when you're in your late 30s. And this is when I was 20 years old, right? He said, your late 30s are going to be rough. And he's like big on prophesying. I didn't necessarily believe in that crap and all this stuff. And a week before I went in, what happened to me, this guy was in town. He lives in Africa. This guy was in town at the same hotel I was staying at, playing like I had COVID from my wife, so I could sit there and do whatever I wanted to.
Right.
He was in the hallway, and that's where he was staying because he was going to Foothills Church down the street for Sunday service.
Wow.
And he told me this years ago, and when I got home, my daughter had the little tusk that was in my shed, and she brought it in and put it on the counter, and I didn't know how it got there. That tusk she brought in and it was sitting there, and I'm like, and it made me, and I was like,
wow.
He told me
what made her do that?
She went out. She doesn't ever go in my little shed, dude. And that's a little thing, though. It's like if you don't believe in God, dude, like, and a lot of people don't. Like, honestly, like, I'm telling you, and it's been shoved down my throat my whole entire life.
Yeah.
And I faked it and everything else, but I'm telling you, dude, I'm firsthand. There isn't a doubt in my mind that there's God. There is a God. There is a God. And he can do anything in your life, and that's what's also helped me stay sober. You know, I feel like I'd be spitting in his face, dude, if I was to, you know, walk the other way after what I just got my life back.
Yeah.
My whole life, my family, everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Recovery does a lot for us, right? So, I mean, I'm coming up on 10 years, and I would say this last year has been just a complete change in my entire life because I found God and I start going to church and I start reading the Bible and I start learning about Jesus and all the things that happen. And like, there's just how can you not believe? It's like, there's been people that have been trying to prove this wrong. Like, people like, I am going to prove that there was no such person, no such thing. And like, time and time again, like, history has shown, like, this actually happened and this took place. It happened a very long time ago,
Mm-hmm.
But, for me, it was like the same thing. Like, I've always believed in something. I never was forced, my grandmother was real spiritual and real faithful. And, I always knew, though, of all the things that have happened to me, in my life, of being shot at, the amount of drugs, incarcerated, whatever, accidents, and like, I'm still here, right? There's still a purpose.
Yeah.
And like, that's what you have. And you have to, you don't have to figure out what your purpose is, because you have one, because you're here. And if that is for showing people like to stay sober or find a faith, or being just the upstanding person that you are, or being a good father, a good husband, like, that's all that really matters now,
Yeah.
But that's okay, dude. Joel, you don't have to be around anyone anymore, because your family is your unit.
Yeah, I don't. That's
and the things that we drag them through,
Yeah, like, the whole thing is like, I used to have, like, you know me and from the past, but most people don't. Like, I would, I was always around. Like, I was always in the mix with everyone else. I'm always going 110 miles an hour, Mr. Bitchin', right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, always trying to be the cool guy, fastest motorcycle, nicest whatever.
Yeah.
And that shit does not matter, bro. Like, it doesn't. And it's like, being able to sit still, and as getting older, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Be able to sit still and just actually appreciate the things in your life brings so much value that there's nothing in this world that can fill that. Nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
No,
there's nothing that when your son looks at you and says, "Daddy," nothing fill that.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost a point where you almost resent it because the time you weren't, like, for me, that I wasn't there for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the harder part to deal with.
Yeah.
And I won't get into all that.
Yeah, I know. I would imagine there's a lot of, you probably have a lot of pain and a lot of guilt and shame and stuff. But if you just keep doing the work and you keep on this path, then you're going to get through all of those things, because we all suffer through that anyways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We try to be the best version of ourselves, and sometimes we can't even do that right. Or, be a good husband. Like, I was a fucking shitty husband in recovery, working steps, taking men through steps, you know what I mean? But still, my behaviors were fucking awful. And that just didn't happen until probably like 6 months ago to a year, bro, until I found God. You know what I mean? Like, life is different. And listen, recovery literally saved my life, but like, my God is keeping my life to where it's maintained, and like, I'm okay with myself. And
yeah, and that's the best part. Like I sleep at night, bro.
Yeah.
I sleep at night. Like, besides me choking on my sternum the whole night, but like, I sleep at night. Like, I don't like quality problems, right? Like, the problems that we have when we know, because we know ourselves, we know we're not being a certain way, and the quality problems that we have compared to the problems, like, you hear it all the time in meetings, right?
Yeah.
Like, that you don't, the problems that you had back then and the problems we have now, they ain't even worth crying about. Like, they really aren't. Because it's like, this is normal, like, normal stuff. Like, but when it comes to something that isn't normal, we'll be the biggest bitches in the world.
Yeah.
But
man, this has been a great show, man. I appreciate you coming on. I know you got to get back to work, but man, what an exciting first show, dude. Like, I knew that this was going to be a great show. I had to hold back a tear a few times just because, like, it's just so crazy to have my friend sitting across from me and we're doing a podcast, because there wasn't no ifs, ands, or buts about you surviving. Like, it was like everyone got the call, and like, that was it, and for you to be here and like, so with it too now, like, yeah, you have some damage, but like, man, I saw you in increments of like where you were and to where you're at right now. So it's just really great. This is going to be a great show for people to listen. And thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely.
Bro.
Thank you for having me.
Cool.
And if there's anyone out there listening to this and you're having a hard time right now and you don't feel like you can turn it around, you can.
That's a perfect way to end it. I should have asked you, like, do you have anything for him, but that was good, bro. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Goodbye.